Entering my first year at the Queensland Conservatorium of Music, my relationship with percussion was largely defined by isolation. Like many incoming students, my daily practice was spent strictly inside the four walls of a practice room, focusing heavily on individual technical mastery and solo repertoire. I thought about music vertically, my mallets, my instruments, and my technique. But over the course of this trimester, that isolated practice model completely broke down, transforming me from a solo-focused student into an integrated listening ensemble musician. Through a whirlwind of large-scale orchestral concerts, intimate chamber recitals, and unexpected vocal collaborations, my first trimester at the conservatorium has fundamentally rewritten my understanding of what it means to make music. The evolution of my musicianship began the moment I stepped onto the stage for major ensemble projects. Performing with the Conservatorium Wind Orchestra at City Hall and the Symphony Orchestra for the second concert forced me to look up from my music stand and actively engage with the acoustic environment of the entire stage. In an orchestra, you quickly realize that you aren't just playing a part, you are balancing a complex texture. I had to learn how to dynamically voice my playing against a massive brass section or a lush wall of strings, projecting cleanly without producing a harsh, choked tone. This was especially evident in when I played the xylophone part at Ravel's Pictures at an Exhibition. This journey also brought me to unexpected places. Joining the Salt vocal group for their jazz vocal night concert was completely outside my comfort zone. I hadn't done much singing before, but diving into that world taught me an immense amount about breath-based phrasing and vocal blending. Surprisingly, this vocal experience directly translated back into my percussion playing, introducing a more relaxed, natural fluid motion into my mallet touch. It proved that embracing vulnerability and exploring unfamiliar genres ultimately makes you a far more adaptable musician. Midway through the trimester, the complexity of our percussion ensemble repertoire pushed me into challenging territory. In the piece The Feeling of Coming Home, the marimba 1 part doesn't rely on standard predictable downbeats, and instead, it is written slightly off the pulse, demanding total rhythmic independence, while other players lock in with their rhythms beside you. Initially, I tried to solve this by retreating to my practice room and forcing myself to count along strictly with a metronome click. It didn't work. The moment I got back into the ensemble room, the surrounding layers of sound would completely scramble my internal clock. I realized that rhythm and chamber music isn't a solitary calculation. It is a shared physical map. To fix the issue, I asked a few ensemble members to meet up for separate small group sessions. We completely stripped away the speed and analyzed the music bar by bar, tracing exactly how my offbeat notes physically locked into their accents like gears in a clock. Clapping out these combined composite rhythms together completely shifted my perspective. By transforming abstract notation into an acoustic, cooperative dialogue, I found the grounding I needed to perform with absolute rhythmic authority at both our main recital and the open day concert. My solo recital preparation provided a perfect laboratory to test how high-level classical theory informs actual performances. On the page, the technical etudes of Delacluse and Dupin read almost like complex mathematical blueprints, packed to the brim with sudden metric shifts and polyrhythms. My goal this trimester was to prevent these pieces from sounding like clinical technical drills. I worked heavily on translating those mathematical subdivisions into physical weight transfers and intentional stroke heights, giving their rigid structures a clear sense of narrative direction and musicality. The synthesis of technical control and musical freedom was the key to unlocking Gordon Stout's Mexican Dance No. 1. Because this iconic piece completely discards fixed time signatures, you cannot lean on traditional strong versus weak beat hierarchy. The momentum has to come entirely from an unbroken, organic, horizontal flow. To master the massive lightning-fast interval shifts smoothly, I relied heavily on regular audio and video recording to critique my own form. By watching my sessions back in slow motion, I could objectively analyze the rebound of my mallets, ensuring my hands were releasing from the bars quickly enough to maximize the natural resonance of the wood. Furthermore, I use these digital recordings to self-evaluate the acoustic feedback from my ensemble directors. I experimented thoroughly with various yarn hardnesses and core weights, discovering how to voice the upper melodic lines with clarity, while ensuring the lower notes provided a warm, supportive cushion rather than a harsh, percussive slap. Looking back at the trajectory of my first trimester, my fundamental definition of musicianship has completely changed. Making music is no longer about proving my solo capabilities in a vacuum. It is about building shared creative spaces through active, empathetic listening. My time in the wind orchestra, symphony orchestra, and special projects like the Jazz Vocal Night and Reconciliation Week concert has given me a deep sense of belonging within the conservatorium's creative community. As I look ahead towards trimester 2, I want to use this foundation to branch out into new territories. My experience with the salt vocal group sparked a deep interest in contemporary jazz phrasing and harmonic structures. I want to channel that curiosity directly into the vibraphone, focusing heavily on modern chord voicing and improvisation. At the same time, I plan to program advanced marimba repertoire that pushes my boundaries through complex polyphony and swift manual permutations. By actively diving into more diverse chamber collaborations and challenging solo material, I intend to keep crafting a versatile, forward-thinking voice as a contemporary percussionist.